I want to bring in now John Ray. He is an attorney who represents the families of Gilgo Beach victims, Jessica Taylor and Shannon Gilbert. John, thank you also for joining us again tonight. We always appreciate your perspective. What did you make of the presser? I mean, I know you were there. You spoke afterwards after their lawyers sort of left. What did you make of the whole thing?
Well, what I make of it is very simple, and that is that this lady is conning everybody, and she's been doing that for years. She's managed to, for example, go on food stamps when her husband made the kind of money he made. They own numerous properties all over in several states. These are not poor people, and they've managed to raise at the last count today, $44,000 in GoFundMe, and they're not victims. This is all a big put on, and what makes it worse is that it is overwhelmingly likely that this woman, Miss Ellerup, and the other adults, certainly Miss Ellerup, knew very well what was going on in that house with Mr. Heuermann downstairs in the basement with sex workers, and he had numerous sex workers.
How can you say that, though? I mean, John, that's a really big allegation to make. I mean, the police have said that they didn't know anything, and we've seen in other cases with serial killers that the families don't know anything. These guys are sickos and masterminds and psychotic, and they can compartmentalize. I mean, how can you go on national TV and say that you know that they knew something?
I can say that for several reasons. First of all, she lived in that little tiny house, and according to her own lawyers, there's no soundproof room downstairs. It would be virtually impossible in this day and age, where they've together for 27 years in that little tiny house, that she had no knowledge with cell phones and the internet. She had no knowledge whatsoever of what he was up to all those years downstairs. That's the first problem we have with this. The second problem is the way she's behaved is completely antithetical to what a person would do under similar circumstances if they were not involved. You know, she not one of those people, her or her children, have said anything by way of sympathy for any of the victims of the serial killer, no matter what. They've just completely ignored that. They sit on the front porch, they laugh, they give the European middle finger to the press.
Well, listen, I mean, all the pictures I've seen them looking very sad outside, and maybe they're just, I mean, could they still just be in denial and shock and hoping that it's not true? And then the thing you said about her not knowing if he had escorts over there. I mean, people just have weird marriages. Maybe they had some kind of weird arrangement where he was allowed to have the escorts downstairs, having sex with the escorts downstairs. But that doesn't mean that she knew that he was a killer.
That doesn't mean she didn't. And she should be a suspect. When 2 of her hairs are found on the tape wrapping up 2 of the victims, she's at least a suspect. But there's also another factor, which I had the good fortune to come across, and that is a witness. And there is a witness who is very credible. I know I pull rank by saying that because I'm 41 years in the business, and I've done many cross-examinations and 33 different homicides I've been involved in one way or another. So I bring that to the table. I've examined this witness for hours, and she is credible, and in detail she is credible, and she's not coming forward with her name at this point, and I'm going to respect that.
So
that's my job.
What is the witness? What did the witness tell you, though? Like, tell us about this witness.
What I hear unquestionably is that Rex Heuermann was bringing sex workers frequently into his home over the years, spent a small fortune on them, and that the wife was clearly very aware of this and even indicated it actively at some points. So I have that plus all these inferences that you can draw from the way this woman has behaved in this whole thing. And when you put the two together, it's pretty hard to deny that she should be a suspect. Perhaps the police did not consider her a suspect initially because she seemed to have alibis for when 3 of those women disappeared. But those alibis are fungible, like anything else. And if she was away in Iceland on a trip and so on, do we know when these girls were actually killed, the day they were killed? Do we know how long they were kept before they were buried? Do we know whether they were still alive and then were killed later on? You don't know any of those things. So you really need to be suspicious. And that's what I'm saying, is you need to be suspicious.
I understand what you're saying, being suspicious and keeping an open mind, and I'm sure hopefully the police are with everything involving this case. It just seems like we don't really have the evidence right now to call out the family like that.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.